Hi, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I was asked a really great question, and although I have an older video on my channel and you're welcome to watch it, I may tag it underneath this current video. I thought it would be a good topic to talk about, a good a good thing to go back over. And I was basically what I was asked is how you you suggest we forgive ourselves. And so I'm going to go over it in a little bit. So there's a few things that I want you to bear in mind um, that are important components of this specific request. All right. So first and foremost, all right, let's begin. Um, Most important thing to understand: there's nothing to give. No additional sense. Okay, it's nothing to forgive. Want you to really take a moment and think about this. All right. So, a few things before you enter this vision. You somewhat pre plan most of your life. Okay. Go through this simulation. This is prior to being born, and you are shown if I take this route, I learn this. I take this route, I learn that. And you go back and forth, and you're shown every possibility like a choose your own adventure. All right. These are your choices, but you are guided prior to being born as to what are the possibilities. Can you deviate? Absolutely. That's free will's about. Okay. That's what free will's about. Um, what are the other deciding factors of what's going on in your life? Why and what you're born to, what have you. So, a lot of what you experience in your life is somewhat like a relay race. So if you're familiar with a relay race, one person starts the race and then passes the baton to another person who passes the baton to another person until you complete the race. But each individual is a key component to winning that race, and it's a team effort, but there is a sort of passing of the baton, and that's what I want us to focus on. Yes? All right, so passing of the baton. So let me explain. What I'm saying is a lot of your family history and the things that have occurred and the things that are unresolved, this is the passing of the baton. So you're going to learn things growing up, you're going to absorb things, you're not even going to realize because this is actually shaping who you're going to become and the choices you're going to automatically make. The things are going to be mindless. The things are going to be seeming so normal to you, if that's fair. Uh, Based on what has happened, this is the key component of kind of why you're attracted to certain romantic partners, what sort of career choices you make, just about anything and everything, kind of deciding that, because that's what's become normal. All right. Now, in every life, you have an opportunity to evolve or devolve. Those are our two choices. Okay. And how can you devolve? Well, it's very simple. You don't change. You make the same choices and they don't help you grow, but it's what's normal. Let's so give you an example of something like this. It could be that you grew up in an abusive family, and so then every person you're romantically attracted to abuses you. So it's devolving. It may seem absolutely normal to choose these things because it's what you saw around, and this is normal, but because you're choosing to evolve or make different choices, and by choosing, I got to tell you, this is an absolute choice. You don't have to. That you can experience more of the same. All right. Or you can win the race. All right. So this is deciding. Now, to be fair, you don't know what you don't know until you realize it. So, in essence, everyone is innocently choosing what is familiar, and it is up to us to choose to evolve, to choose to be different, to choose to make different choices. So, for example, in my own case, my grandmother had an abusive second husband. She never got married. She married twice. And as a result of what she saw growing up, she was like, "Oh no, that's not going to be okay for me, and that's going to be okay for my daughter. And I'm going to choose a different choice that I'm not going to find this acceptable." So as a result, she raised in a certain way, but as a result, she evolved because she chose not to repeat history. However, there are just as many folks, and there's no judgment here. I'm not saying one is bad or one's good or anything. It's all about experience. All right. Um, there are people that choose the same thing. They choose what's familiar. This is what they know, and this is what's cool. Okay. Now, this doesn't make you wrong or right. It just means that until you're done suffering as a result of these choices, they're just going to be what's normal. And undoing this is a choice. It's a choice to evolve. And it's not an easy one. You can't listen to your ego in its attempt to keep you as is, because it is known, basically known, for making you feel guilty for these choices. Like, man, you should know better. Oh, wow, what were you thinking? It does it, it has this way of making us feel so horrible. And I'm here to tell you that you need to give yourself grace, because everyone is innocent. You don't know what you don't know until you cross this path. Right? I'm going to give myself as an example. My father was an alcoholic, a flirt, a charmer, or what have you, with bad temper, who would act out his inability to process his trauma on his wife or his current, the other woman, or whatever he was doing at the time. Right? Now, I made sure to evolve my choice to make sure that I didn't choose cheaters. However, I ended up choosing the same alcoholic man with the same name at first, and it just seemed normal. I was blinded to the fact that he kept on drinking to the degree that he was drinking. He was progressively getting worse, and I turned a blind eye, even when people start telling me, "Hey, you know, he smells like alcohol at work," or he's drinking and he has mouthwash all the time. And I was like, "Oh, he just wants fresh breath." Didn't think. Okay, understand. Perhaps because he was a happier version of my father and not a violent version for the most part. Again, I thought that I was not choosing the same. I was blinded to that. I didn't realize what I didn't realize until it hit me smack dab in the face, that I wasn't evolving. I was choosing to remain the same and choosing to keep the same choices that my mother made. Okay. Now, my ego would love for me to feel guilty for that. My ego would love for me to blame myself. Like, girl, what the hell were you thinking? Why did you normalize this? What's wrong with you? My ego will do this. However, however, I have taken a different approach to life. I am willing to accept accountability. I'm willing to accept that, yes, I normalized this. Yes, this was my normal. This was my childhood. I didn't know any better. But I do now. And as a result, I can't choose the same anymore. It's not okay. And the thing is, um, as much as my ego would like to blame me, um, and make me feel small and keep me where I am, I have responsibility to the soul inside my body to choose better and to not do this. Right. So I give myself grace. I choose to evolve, and I choose to pick, when I pick that baton, going in a different direction. This is how I evolve. I could have just easily remained the same. Certainly a lot of people wanted me to do that. Um, but no, I had to do better. Now, a lot of people can't see the difference because they're still under the control of the ego that is designed to make you feel guilty, because it's going to use every attempt it can to keep you the same, to keep you in what is comfortable. But I'm here to tell you that not everything that is comfortable is good for you. Just because you've normalized it doesn't mean that it's healthy. You really have to be willing to look at these things without blame. Just be willing to look at them and accept them. So, as an example, okay, I'd like to bring to mind the idea of Jesus on the cross. Right? Now, every mystery religion ever before had the same exact crucifixion. So one could say, why did this plagiarize from that? Or what is going on? Or this is all fake? Or that is one line of questioning. And I once used to think like that. Or, and this is a big or, we could ask, what was so important about keeping this symbolism and keeping this story? And it didn't matter whether it was Dionysus or anything, anyone else for that matter, that fits that mold. Being back as far, I think the oldest crucifixion picture belongs to Orpheus Bacchus, right? All of the gods Roman gods, the Greek gods of the mystery religions. What was so important about this theme? And so I will tell you, the first secret is that accepting life as it is, no matter what it looks like. You got to be willing to do that. Otherwise, you're trapped in the past, and the past is deciding what you're doing. Instead, you want to make sure that you're looking at it, accepting it, and that's what I did. I took full responsibility for my programming as a child to see where I was and then to make a different choice. You know, now, did I beat myself up forever? Sure, I absolutely can, but that doesn't serve me. And like I said, I have a responsibility to the soul inside my body to do better, to ride or die, to evolve, to love her, my soul. I'm calling her her because I'm a female in this body, but obviously the soul is androgynous. The body is not, but the soul is, all right. Um, but like I said, I owe it to myself to love me, and I owe it to myself to do better. And as soon as I'm aware, I owe it to myself not to shirk responsibility, not to be like, oh, I was raised this way, or not to decide, just be like, oh yeah, I made poor choices. No, 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 no. Owe it to myself to ride or die. And the reason I do this is so that I can evolve, so that I can learn. This is not about me beating myself up. It's to remember that I'm here for the sake of experience, that not that baton, and where I go from here. And if I win the race is really truly dependent on how much I'm willing to be introspective, to take responsibility, and to accept that it's not about right or wrong, but that a lot of my choices were made by my unconscious self. My job here is to make the unconscious visible. It's not to beat myself up. Do I know the ego wants to do that to me? Yes, I know. And for those of you that aren't familiar with this, I suggest that you read Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. He's really great at describing psychotic roommate that our ego can be, and the whirlwind ride that it takes you on, and the guilt and shame that it brings forth, because it wants nothing more than for you to remain the same. That's how it thinks it's keeping you safe. So, in all fairness, the ego is not the enemy here. It really thinks that it's doing in your best interest when it's not. Right? It thinks that this is how it keeps you safe by keeping you the same. It keeps you normal, what have you. And it is my job to see beyond that and then choose better and choose and evolve. Okay. Now, I'm using myself as an example because I don't want anyone to use my material um and not learn from this specific example, meaning that I want people to use, if you're going to learn from me, learn that you use your, because your most authentic self is the one you're here to present, not what you learned in books. It's how you apply what you've learned in books and what have you. And this is an example of that. All right. Now, I'm not making my ego my enemy, but I am aware of its propensity to make me feel guilty, make me feel shame. So that my goal is self-forgiveness. And a lot of the times, a lot of us, we, for some reason, are really good at giving anybody and everybody else. But then when it comes to ourselves, we're not our best enemy. We're not our best friend. We are our worst enemy, sort of thing. And we have no problem telling ourselves how we should be or how we should think, or what have you. We have no problem making ourselves feel guilty. And I'm here to tell you that's got to stop. That real true forgiveness begins with your acceptance and comes with your awareness, and then, okay, you can extend it to others, but it begins with you, because as long as you have this guilt and shame program running, there will be people out there that have to mirror that back to you until you resolve it. It's going to come in the form of triggers. It's going to come in the form of all kinds of different people showing you that you still have something that you need to resolve. And that's by design. Love works that way. Everything is a mirror inside of you so that you can look at who you are, what you're being, what you're doing, make you aware of the past that's playing out. Everything truly is a movie of yourself, and you're here to learn from it, not judge it. Learn from it, not judge it. All right. Now, self forgiveness is a process. It's not forgiveness in the traditional sense. Okay. Not traditional sense, but meaning you did something wrong, or someone did something wrong, and you're going to be the bigger person. You're going to forgive. All right. That's very 3D. No, this is more. based on Colin Tippin's work, Radical Forgiveness, and it's realizing that nothing is wrong. Everything is here pointing inward, trying to show you how to redirect your life away from choices that are harming you, away from things that didn't serve you, and directing you towards healing and acceptance and taking responsibility in charge of your life, taking yourself off autopilot and truly making decisions that are in your best interest. And that includes redirecting your ego when it starts to give you shame and guilt. I hope that's fair. So I will continue these talks. These are just little mini conversations that I really want you to take into account. If you have been feeling guilty, if you've been feeling like you should have known better, if you're beating yourself up, I want you to hear me when I tell you that your ego is doing this to you, and that accepting rather than resisting what your ego is saying is the first step. And the next step is realizing that you're innocent, that you didn't know what you didn't know, and that you're here to learn. And that's what the purpose is. And it's not about guilt and wrongdoing. Okay. It's not until you purposely choose the wrong thing and you will learn the consequence of action. By wrong thing, I do not mean right or wrong like moral. I mean, if it caused you harm, if it didn't turn out the way you thought it would, then maybe you can choose better, because you're just as responsible for living here in the 3D plane and for acknowledging the things you're supposed to learn as you are for forgiving yourself, for accepting yourself as you are for being your most authentic self. These are all things that are necessary. It's a necessary part of the journey. So if this is something that you've been doing, how can you do this? Well, I will make that in part 2. We'll talk about radical forgiveness. For those of you that are familiar with Colin Tippin's work, please do grab his book. I do highly recommend it, but I ask that you truly apply it, that you do the work. Because a lot of times, many of you are suffering. Your children are coming back to haunt you with choices that if it's not your children, it's people in your lives that are going to reflect the things that are unresolved, and you need to look at them and you need to appreciate them. It's not about right or wrong. It's about how these people are serving you, and this is the hardest thing to see when what they're showing you is unresolved trauma. I promise you. I appreciate my ex so much because I really learned and grew from these choices. I evolved. I'm choosing better. Um, and even though I stayed longer than I should have based on his behavior, um, I forgave myself for staying longer than I should have. And I also appreciate him for showing me that I had unresolved daddy issues. I'm not ashamed. I had these things, and and I had to look at them. And had he not been the way that he was behaving, I wouldn't have. And so radical forgiveness is more about realizing, yes, this person had to do this. In other words, and I say this example all the time, without the Joker, I don't realize I'm Batman, so I appreciate the Joker as is. I'm not trying to change the Joker. I'm not trying to make him guilty. I'm not trying to make him wrong. I simply realize this is the role this person played, and I can appreciate it because it led to my evolution. Okay? It's not about right or wrong. It's about understanding and accepting life as it is. That's the symbol of Jesus on the cross. That's what it actually means. Okay. And that's the image that I want to portray to you. Accepting life as it is, not trying to resist it. Catch up with the present moment. From the present moment, you can make any decision. You can quantum leap anywhere. But first, you have to get present. The more you resist life as it is, the more you're going to struggle against yourself, and that's unnecessary. So I hope you're picking up this baton. I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. And cheers to winning the race of life. God bless all. And if you like this material, please like and subscribe. Any comments or anything that I can do to help guide you, you're more than welcome. You're also more than welcome invited to my mastermind if you're on this search, or to make appointments with me. I do offer coaching to help people through life. damn good at making transformations for those of you that are wondering. um, I'm really good at that. So I am looking forward to hearing from you, and I really appreciate you listening to me today. God bless all.